you asked.
And we're going to answer. In this video, we're going to go over your 7 most asked questions
about living in the Venice, Sarasota, Northport, Englewood, Port Charlotte,
Nokomis,
areas.
Welland Park.
Welland Park.
Okay. And we're getting started right now. If you have any questions about living in the area, leave it in the comments and we'll get to it in a future Q&A video. So the first question is,
how to handle moving to Florida from a different state?
That's a broad and a big one.
It is, yes.
And right off the bat, we're going to give you some of the basics, but we're going to have a full playlist with things about moving to Florida. That's always going to be in the descriptions of every video pretty much.
So in regards to jobs, I would say having something lined up before moving down. If you are working from home, then inquiring with your company to see if moving to Florida would affect that, because a lot of times, even though you're remote work, a lot of times they'll still want you within the state. So just getting clarification on that to see if you can stay with that company, or if you need to find another, I would say another remote job would be the way to go. But if you can't do remote jobs, then finding a job in the area that you're moving to.
And odds are, depending on your situation, you're probably going to need work down here in order to get a home down here if you're going to buy one, or rent for that matter. So definitely an important step. I think another thing to consider is the moving process. Maybe if you're going to put stuff in a storage facility, one thing that we did that we really liked was a pod. You put it in this pod thing, they store it somewhere for up to 30 days and even longer if you want, and then they just charge you by the month. And then whenever you want it shipped to your new home, they'll bring it there. You can keep it there for a few days. You tell them when to come get it. So you can kind of take your time with things, but there's a lot of options out there. That's just one that we did. Or if you're going to hire movers, some of those things you want to consider. And then also I think you need to consider, where you're going to move, what the house looks like, what your options are, what you can afford.
Your budget, yeah, whether that's renting or buying, you need to know what your budget is, because a lot of times maybe you can't afford it. Like we hear it all the time in the Venice, Sarasota areas that a lot of the locals can't afford those rents anymore. So knowing what your budget is, it's going to play a big part, I would say, on where you're going to move.
Yeah, and I think if you're not necessarily tied to one certain job and you're trying to figure out where you want to live, then yeah, it's really important that you really get that locked down. Okay, I can afford this city and I really like it, and there's work opportunities, kind of scratching off those boxes, and it's good for my kids for school, or whatever that looks like, whatever your situation is, to really get a feel for that. And then one other thing that we always say, don't just watch our videos and decide you're going to move here. Don't just do research online and decide you're going to live here. Come down and visit. We recommend once in the summer, once in the winter. I'd say at least 3-4 days each of those visits, if not longer. I'd say a week to 2 weeks would be great.
If you're scoping out neighborhoods, then yeah, like a week or 2 would be better. But if it's just like for the experience and just try to like have a little getaway and experience the city a little bit, then 4 days is, I think it's plenty. But if you want to look at neighborhoods and drive around, then at least a week or 2.
Yeah, and that gives you time to get a sense for the city, the traffic, the people, the locations of things, how what it's like getting around, what's near what, do you like the vibe of the city, and also in context of the schools, being able to afford all that stuff together. And then again, doing it winter and summer, the weather. It just gives you a better sense of the weather and the city, especially Venice. Well, all the cities really around here, Venice, Northport, Englewood. More so, I'd say Venice and Sarasota. Northport isn't affected by it as much, but there's definitely some seasonality to the amount of people and traffic and things like that. Before we get into the next question,
if you're looking to buy or sell a home in the Venice, Sarasota areas, make sure to call, text, or email us. I am a local realtor here. My information will be in the description box below.
941-221-1897. Call or text at any time. We hear from people all the time. We love it. And we're always going to have your best interest and happiness in mind when moving to the area. Our next question is kind of a bunch of questions, and I'm just going to read it right off this because it's kind of a long one. And it is home insurance really a nightmare, especially after the hurricane? Will it cover disasters if I need it, and is it affordable? I'll let you talk about this one mostly because she deals more with this with when people buy a new home, or I shouldn't say new home, a home.
A home. Yeah, so it's no secret that we've had a lot of issues with insurance companies over the last year, 2 years maybe even. And that is that a lot of insurance companies are actually leaving Florida because of the rules and legislation that we have. Insurance companies are basically in the business to make money, right? If you own a business, you want to make money. So a lot of insurance companies feel that by maybe insuring a home that has a really old roof, like say 15-year-old roof, if something were to happen, then like a hurricane, like what we just experienced, then there's a lot of claims that they are going to have to deal with, and they're going to have to make payments on those claims. So because of that, then they wouldn't be making money, and they don't want to basically deal with these issues. So they're just closing shop, leaving the state. It's not like we don't have any insurance companies left. We do, and some of them will insure older roofs. Problem with that is that if you don't have a good insurance company, they might come back and say, well, your roof, it's old, and that's the reason why you had this damage to begin with. We're not going to approve the claim.
I think another thing to consider is just in general, they might not cover you if your roof is more than 15 years. And a lot of people, I was actually just talking to my dad who still lives in Wisconsin, and I told him, yeah, roofs around here, around 15 years, you're looking at getting replaced. And this is what we were just talking to the roofer about, because we had some damage after the hurricane. And he said, yeah, it's just the constant rain in the summer and the heat. The shingles just don't last as long, and they get brittle. So around 15 years, you might start to run into more issues. And because of that, now the insurance companies say, nah, we're not covering that.
That's wear and tear. That's not because of the hurricane, that's wear and tear. And the other thing too is that because the shingles get so brittle, when you go to, maybe you only have a small patch that you need to replace. When you go in to replace it, then you have to lift the shingles. You have to lift
the shingle above it, and that one breaks.
And then the one that was, there, the one you're not replacing, breaks. So because of that, that's what the new roofs in Florida are lasting about 15 years, and that's what the insurance companies want to insure up to.
And I meant before though, like they won't even cover you. Like you can't. Sometimes you can't even get insurance if it's not 15 years or younger.
Mm-hmm. After the hurricane, really, we haven't seen much difference. It's really the same issues that we were dealing with before are carrying on through now. So the main reason why insurance companies are leaving is because your insurance company has a policy. So they insure you, and then they have a policy that insures them. When there's a natural disaster, that insurance company that's, say, insuring your insurance company kicks in. The insurance company will have a deductible, like you as a homeowner have a deductible, the insurance company will have a deductible, and then that second insurance kicks in to pay down. This is somewhat expensive for them, so that's one of the reasons why they're deciding not to stay.
My question is who's the insurance company for the insurance company for the insurance company? And then is there an insurance company for them?
It could be. I don't know. My knowledge doesn't go that far.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, like there might be like one person in like this tower. Okay.
Yes, but the question, getting back to the question, was, would you be insured? You should be insured, and especially if you have a good insurance company, you should be okay. As
far as is it affordable? Kinda. It's like for us, it's about $1,000 a year. Our home is what, 16-ish years old. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be some things that maybe aren't super newish code, but most of it's pretty good. So I think there's going to be a lot of factors that go into that as far as if it's affordable for you. Not is your home older, is it newer, is it elevated, are you in a flood zone, the roof, but I think $1,000 is a good place to start at. We'll see if that changes after the hurricane now. Yes. And all the claims.
And it depends too, like the location of your home, how your home is built. Like if it's built to code, then now it's built for hurricanes. So because of that, your insurance might be a little bit lower as well.
And other things, hurricane shutters, hurricane impact windows. Do you have a steel or a metal roof? There's a lot of factors that go into it. But usually better protection as far as the roofs go would be metal. Then it would be tile, and then shingles would be like the bottom of the barrel.
And if insurance is it's a big concern to you, I would recommend maybe reaching out to insurance companies, because at the end of the day, they will have more information that we do. We know a little bit about insurance, but they are the pros. So I would say maybe reaching out. They won't be able to give you a specific quote if you don't have a home, but at least give you an idea, like, hey, how much would a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 or 1,700 square foot home with a shingle roof, like how much could you give me an idea of what that payment would look like? Next question is Port Charlotte less desirable than Northport?
Yes. I'm just kidding. There's some nuance to consider
Yes.
with that. I just wanted to be direct and blunt.
I think it really depends what you're looking for. If you're moving your family down and schools are important to you, then I would say definitely Northport would be better just because of the school system. Northport is in Sarasota County. Sarasota County, it's known for having great schools. Not that the schools in Port Charlotte are bad, but if you want the better schools, then Northport would be more desirable.
Another thing to consider, I think, is shopping. Both are pretty good, I would say overall. Port Charlotte has a little more options. They have a mall, not completely filled out. It's like 3/4 full. It might be a dying mall. It's hard to say. It's not on the level of Sarasota Square Mall though. That thing is pretty much empty. So if you want a little more shopping available, Port Charlotte's going to be better.
And it sits closer to Fort Myers area, so a bigger city with more shopping.
Yeah, and if you want to be a little bit closer to the beach, Northport's going to be a little bit closer generally. I guess it just depends on where you're sitting, but in general, Northport's going to be closer.
And I would say Northport and Port Charlotte are pretty close to what they are as far as the feel of the city. I feel like they're pretty similar.
I think Port Charlotte has a little bit more older homes overall.
It's more built out.
Yeah, it's a little more built out. And generally prices are going to be a little less in Port Charlotte, so it's a little more affordable there. But again, that's not like an across the board thing. It just depends on the house, the location, all the little X factors.
Yes, and depending where you find a home in Port Charlotte, you might be like so close to Northport that it's, it just becomes one.
And we should give prices as we were trying to do a better job about this. So some general ideas for prices, Northport and Port Charlotte, go ahead.
Yeah, for like a 3-bed, 2-bath, single family home, I would say in the 300s to, depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a bigger home, then maybe closer to the 400s. But anywhere between, I would say 350 to higher 300, so like 380.
And that's resale or just new construction?
Resale, and there's also new construction homes, believe it or not. They are going to be a little bit smaller, even if they do have a 3-bed. They're going to be more like 1,400 square feet, but I have seen as little as $300,000. But that's because of the end of year incentives and inventory that, builders are trying to offload. So just because right now they're listed at $300,000 doesn't mean that you'll be able to find that next year.
And possibly even, I'd say, some opportunities, maybe get something for like $250, maybe even $200, but probably smaller, fixer-upper, older. It's out there, but it's not going to maybe be what you want, or your dream home.
Or if you're looking for, something that's not quite move-in ready, you might be able to find like a really nice home that's not quite move-in ready, that you would have to maybe fix up a little bit, like a fixer-upper, but size-wise, you can find like really nice homes.
Next question is, do you, that means me or her, I don't know, think home prices are going to stay down through next summer? Probably. I think they're going to stay flat, maybe slightly go down. It depends. I think I've always said this. I think everything depends on interest rates. When they were really low, prices went really high. Interest rates went really high. Now home prices seem to be going lower, or at least they're flattening, and there's some inventory building. And as that inventory builds even more, then I think we're going to start to see home prices dip. The question is, will that interest rate go through, being high, stay high, go higher through next summer? Or this coming summer, I don't know, but I think it will, or even if it does come back down, I don't think the demand's just going to go back up immediately. I think it's going to be kind of more of a gradual thing. Yeah,
especially during summer, there is not a lot of real estate transactions that take place. Our busy months in Florida of people buying and selling homes are during the winter. So even if we see an uptick of inventory, we're still probably going to see a lot of sales go through. I would say until maybe April, late April, maybe even beginning of May. But then we'll probably start seeing, demand decreasing, and home prices might decrease with that as well, because during the summer, not many people are looking to move down here.
Yeah, good point.
The next question is mold a big problem, especially after the hurricane?
No. Just kidding.
That's non-existent.
So, yeah.
Yes and no, I would say.
It depends on the situation.
Yes.
Like always. Context, right?
Yes. I would say if you have a home and, you were affected by the hurricane, but you took care of the problem, then mold, it's not an issue. Another thing too is that typically you keep your AC running, so that helps with, filtering the air out, cleaning the air out, so you won't see any problems with mold. But if you have a home and you had damage and didn't take care of it properly, then yeah, you might experience a lot of mold issues. Another thing too, it's with rentals and apartments. We have heard a lot about people having mold issues and the landlord's not taking care of it. So that might be what you're hearing out there. But again, if you have a home, as long as you take care of it, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think obviously the things to look out for, obviously the humidity in the air. So you always want to keep the air moving, like she said, have the air conditioning running, maybe fans. But then also outside of that, like water. Like if you had some leaks in the roof and then it's getting into the drywall or into the wood in the attic or the insulation, you got to get that taken care of, maybe replaced, repaired, maybe some sort of a mold or mildew spray, whatever that looks like. And then on top of that, you know, if your home flooded and then the drywall gets wet on the, you know, floor or even below the floor, let's say you got carpet, you know, things like that, that probably will need to be replaced or dried out really, really quickly. But even then, I guess I'm not a super expert on that, but that's definitely an issue that I've heard of a lot of people having with, you know, if their home flooded. Now, yeah, okay, there's going to be a lot more extensive damage that you probably just want to get the drywall swapped out where it did get wet, so you don't have mold. And better to have that peace of mind than be like, well, hopefully it doesn't get moldy, and then next thing you know, you're dealing with it all in the house as it spreads.
Yes, exactly.
Next question is, which areas that you serve are the most affordable?
All of them. Well, perspective, right? It really depends what affordable means to you, where you're coming from. Someone coming from California might think that this is very, very affordable, while someone coming from Wisconsin, where we're from, might be like, no, that's like, I can't afford that.
Actually, well, it was pretty comparable when we first moved to the area, you know, in 2020, early 2020, before things went crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And home prices have gone up in Wisconsin too, just like, you know, the rest of the country. But not like here. Because no one's looking to move to Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
Not no one. Come on, don't be so mean. But yeah, it's not on that Venice level. It's not.
That's a stretch, you would say.
What do you mean?
Who wants to move to a Midwest town? Like, people looking to move to Midwest towns, I feel like, are people that maybe lived in Florida or other parts of the country that are warmer, and they want a change of pace, or maybe because they can afford more home.
Okay, well, way more people want to move here than there, but I'm just saying, like, it's not like no one wants to move to Fond du Lac. Like, oh no.
Okay, sure.
Anyways, yeah, but there's definitely more like incentive to come here. Anyways, so which ones are the most affordable?
You get much more house for your money in Northport, Port Charlotte, Englewood to a certain extent. I would say Englewood and Venice are almost comparable now. Venice is still a little more expensive. I would say Port Charlotte and Northport, mainly because of what you get for your money.
If I could rank the cities most affordable to least, I would go Port Charlotte,
Northport,
then Northport.
And this does not include the Welland Park area. That's just like city of Northport.
Then Nokomis, probably.
Thing with Nokomis is that there is like not a lot for sale.
Yeah, it's very location, and it is a small area. But if we're gonna put it in there, it would probably be there. And then probably Venice and Welland Park, maybe a tie.
Englewood, then Venice, Welland Park.
Then Englewood, then Venice and Welland Park.
And then Sarasota.
Then Sarasota. Yeah, so there you go. There's your list.
The next question is, are short-term rentals allowed in Venice?
No.
So yes and no. When you think of a short-term rental, you think of like a few days to a week, maybe 2 weeks. Those are not allowed per Sarasota County, so it's not just Venice, it's a county restriction. Although some people are still doing it, but you're not supposed to. And then the barrier islands do allow short-term rentals, but you would have to be, you know, on a barrier island to be able to do that. So the Sarasota County restriction is a 30-day minimum. And also with an HOA too, you have to go through the HOA to see if they even allow the rentals.
And if you're looking to move to the Venice, Sarasota, Northport, Englewood, Port Charlotte, Welland Park, Nokomis areas, Laurel,
make sure to call, text, or email us. I am a local realtor here. My information will be in the description box below.
Phone number is 941-221-1897. You can call or text at any time. We'll always have your best interest and happiness in mind when buying or selling a home in the area. We hear from people all the time and we love it. If you found the video helpful, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, turn on all notifications, and
live breezy.